This is episode 87 of the Panty Nectar podcast. It's your host, Panty Nectar, and Mr. P.
Hello, Panty Nectar.
Hello and welcome. Before we get into today's episode, last episode was about cheating. It was a very in-depth episode about cheating, actually. We went on and we had someone write us. We had someone write us in. They actually left it as a Reddit comment. I listened to this today while I mowed the yard. Lots to unpack, but wow, a great episode. Here are a few thoughts on cheating. I cheated on my wife early on in our marriage because my wife was in college. She never paid me any attention. Talking to her only brought out more arguments and resentment. I never told her and did it behind her back until we decided to have kids. Then I never did it again. She would never know either if I hadn't have told her years later. My wife and I suffered a terrible loss and she took it worse than I did. People use all kinds of things to cope: drugs, alcohol, food, even sex. She cheated on me and had a torrid affair with someone that she worked with. I found out about it, and the range of emotions was pretty much all of them. We fought, we cried, we yelled and screamed, and at times we gave up on our marriage. We almost divorced a few times, and it was the worst time of my life. We stuck it out, and now we have been married 27 years. I can say now it was worth it, but at the time I was not sure. I said all that so that people know there are times when you don't know what you will do until you are faced in the situation. Every situation is different and the way you react is unique. So saying you would do this or do that is a plan written in sand by the water's edge at low tide. The work that you put in is very appreciated, and your attitude towards how you feel about the people that don't support you on your paid sites is awesome and so true. Your Reddit community would not be as successful, and thereby your paid sites not as successful, without all the people that comment on your free post. And then he says, and thanks for speaking out about your views, even the political ones about saying fuck Joe Biden and fuck Donald Trump. You were right on all those points. He says, as for the offer to help, I have a few things I'd be willing to email you about. So that was really awesome. It was a very heartfelt comment. That was not just like a nice tits comment. That was actually someone, being vulnerable with me and being vulnerable with the community and sharing kind of his outlook on things. And I do believe that. I believe that you don't know what will happen until you're in the situation. You never know. And that's what I was saying. You never know until you have conversations. You get in this path where you have to figure out where you're going to go. And it's really interesting to hear that him and his wife have now been married 27 years. It's a long time to be married.
Yeah, and it kind of goes back to I think how did they do that? Like, that was a very tough situation, obviously, that they were in, and it goes back to communication, right? And we talk about that often, and it's as a matter of fact, we mentioned Gary Vee quite a bit on the podcast because he's a big influence on us, and that's one of the things he often talks about. He's like, if you want to get anything done in the world, right, whatever it is, like, you need to be a good communicator because you have to communicate your position of whatever it is, right? It doesn't matter if it's your spouse that you're having, marital issues, or if it's a business partner that there's some things going on, or if it's, you walk into a restaurant and your server, like anything. Yeah, it's going to require, and not just verbal communication, right? But there's written communication. There's body language, where we get excited and we express with our hands and the expressions of our face and so forth. So, communication is key. And Panty Nectar, I notice here we are for the first time, I think, recording a podcast live on X. So. We have x.com/pantynectar. There's 134 people listening in.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
We just started it, so
that's awesome.
There were a few technical difficulties, but thank you all for joining us, and welcome to the show.
So if you can see behind us, we have little puppies playing. So if you're live watching right now,
should I grab them?
Yeah, I was about to say we're totally doing. I didn't think about this till just now, but we got a new puppy. We have not technically named him. Mr. P has been trying to name him Jeff. And I more so like the name Echo, but I would love to hear from the community.
Here, you take him.
You guys can tell me what you think that this little guy's name should be. You want to say good morning?
Well, we were going with like trying to pick like the dog names, right? Like we have 2 other dogs that have like dog names, and this dog here, we're like, what do we come up with? And we came up with, we hadn't really come up with a good one.
I call him Puppy when I
Yeah,
talk
so I was
to him.
like,
I'm just like, come here, Puppy.
Nothing just sounded right. Nothing really, associated like a name to him. And then yesterday he was out there and I looked at him. I'm like, man, like if he doesn't have a dog name, maybe we just give him a human name. And then I looked at him. I'm like, he's a Jeff.
Oh my
He
gosh.
looks like a Jeff to me.
Yeah, he came in. He's like, yeah, I think his name is going to be Jeff. He looks like a Jeff. I'm like, oh my goodness. So put in the comments on X, if you're live with us right now, please put a name that you think this little guy should be. He's got blue eyes so far. And I believe he is for sure mini Aussie mixed with something else. We don't know. We are unsure, but he is the cutest little guy and he has short legs and he just like hops around. It's the best. He's the sweetest puppy, but yeah.
And he literally hops, right? Like we were talking about, he doesn't like run and, like he like jumps
Boings.
up. Like, and like as he's going across the grass, he's like bouncing up and down the whole way.
He's a very sweet puppy. Loves to cuddle.
And chew. Way too much, maybe. Yeah. He gets my hand sometimes, and it's just like he just like doesn't really know when to let up,
What do you think?
But Jeff, we got his DNA done yesterday.
Yeah.
Well, actually, we did the swab. We have to send it in because we're like, what kind of dog is he? To me, he kind of looks like a Catahoula mix. I don't know.
We're gonna see. They think he's mixed with like a lab. They don't know it was kind of like an accident type thing, but
no, it wasn't. Well, yeah, it wasn't an accident on the dog that snuck in. But as far as the people who had the dog, it definitely wasn't intended for it to be bred. But we're very happy to have the puppy. And man, dogs are like. I saw a meme the other day, and it was a guy holding up a sign. I don't know if it was what it's from, but the sign said, "I'm not watching the movie if the dog dies." Oh. And it's like so true.
What movie is that? Like, is it Marley and Me that were the dog? You're just like, why do you got to do that to us?
I never watched that because I heard that was the case. And I'm like, I don't want to get stuck in this 2-hour-long movie and being attached to this dog. And then
just to cry at the end.
Yeah. I mean, like so many people, listening right now and they know that like dogs and not just dogs, let's be fair, other pets as well. But, dogs are just so close to us as people, and they become like literally family, So, and then when you lose a dog, so it's like losing a family member.
Yeah, it's pretty
sad. In many cases. So
we have lots of people on the live right now on X saying good morning. Get to it says, how long have y'all been up? Y'all are so bright and spunky for so early in the morning.
What's today?
I'm glad that you asked.
Today's June 4th. Let's see if you can. You can't really see that. What is on your home screen? Is this what you showed me yesterday?
Yeah.
It looks like a bunch of sugar cubes. Look at that.
I love it. So I find these photos on X that are just like from artists that put you can even upload it in 4K. And that was one of the ones that you can't really see it, but yeah, that I did. Yeah, it's pretty early, but I specifically can't talk for Mr. P, but myself personally, got to get up early, got to get my stuff going. I've been trying to hit the gym at 6, trying to get things flowing in the morning because I just feel like if I have a better schedule, if I have things kind of laid out, like my day just flows a lot better. And because your girl can sleep in, I like my sleep, so it's important for us to get up early and get grinding on our day. You miss out on so much when you sleep out.
Well, you sleeping in, I don't think it's like most people sleeping in. Like you sleeping in maybe like to what, like 7? That's sleeping in for you. Yeah. But like you're usually up at least by 5.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah.
I was thinking yesterday we saw X come out and X.com, and they came out and they kind of reiterated their stance on the acceptance of sexy, you ready for it? Pornography
bum, bum.
on the platform. And everybody is kind of making a big deal about it, or we saw, some different people posting about it, and they had it was many naysayers, right? And so many people were like, oh, like X is now allowing hardcore porn. That's fucked up. And it's like, wait a second, like, where have you been for the past? Well, first of all, I guess it's a good thing, right? If you didn't know that X didn't allow porn, well, then it's kind of working as designed in a sense of like you didn't cross over to the porn side, right? Because there were people saying, going on about that. And our response was, well, it's kind of disingenuous to believe that the internet is compartmentalized to begin with, right? Like you have like the porn people over here and the people who don't want to see it and the kids who we definitely don't want to see it. Like the internet is a fucking web, right? And so, first and foremost, like we're big advocates of, online safety, obviously. And we think that, hopefully X lays the groundwork as far as how it can be done in the right way. Allowing porn or, having porn on the platform. But the reality is if you see porn, you have to seek it out. Right. Like you have to
the algorithm somewhere somehow is obviously yours is tailored that way.
Yes, and not just that. If you were to see somebody's post, our post, for instance, or whoever it is, like you would have to see the banner saying, hey, you're going to this person's profile and it's not safe for work, caution, 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 and you press the accept button.
Right.
What do you think you're going to fucking see? And like our response was, last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever it was, 3 weeks ago, there was the viral video going around on safe for work profiles of the guy who was standing at a fucking gas pump and literally had a gas pump shoved up, like the fucking gas nozzle.
The nozzle, yeah. Shoved
up his ass, and he was jerking off. And this was making the rounds on the safe for work stuff.
Yeah.
And my thing is like, that should be marked as not safe for work. Why are you guys fucking pushing this shit?
Well,
I don't want fucking kids to see that shit.
Yeah. And I think I was telling, you and I were kind of having a conversation about it yesterday. And I said, it's interesting to me because when I do see stuff like that on my timeline, obviously mine is tailored towards that. But I follow a lot of safe for work pages on my on the Panty Nectar page. And I was telling Mr. P that like, when it pops up on your timeline, it's most likely safe for work people sharing something that is completely not safe for work, but they're just posting it because it's the culture of whatever's happened. For instance, and this ended up being a great example, the Oilers chick that was flashing. Everyone knows that video. The Oilers chick flashing her tits. Well, first off, she wasn't even the one recording it. So how consensual was it? Which is what they make a big deal about. It needs to be consensual for you to upload not safe for work things onto X. And then everyone was taking the screen grab of her titties.
Mm-hmm. They're nice tits, by the way.
They were great. It's a great video. I'm not mad at it either. Yeah, it's a great video. But to our point is all these safe for work things were sharing the screenshot of her tits out, saying like, oh, couldn't beat the Oilers today, with these cans or something like shit like that. But it's like, I agree with that. But like, if you're going to be sharing not safe for work stuff like that, it needs to be labeled as such so that it doesn't pull up. Because everyone yesterday, when I read the X thread about the clarification on pornography, everyone was so upset. They were so upset. Tim Pool, these kind of people, they were so upset. Several people said, oh, X is taking an L. They're moving in the wrong direction. And it's like freedom of speech protects everyone's freedom of speech and expression, not just the ones that you like and don't like. Like that's the whole point of X is everything's there. You may not agree with it. You may not like it. Don't look at it.
Right.
It's literally that simple.
Right, and in my opinion, Tim Pool needs to fucking put a not safe for work tag on all his posts to just say fuck or shit, or fucking fuck. It's like wait a second, like I would know people like I don't give a shit what people say, right? But I know people that would be very offended by the language he uses,
right?
So it kind of goes back to our point of like, just stay in your fucking lane.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if it bothers you, then don't go. It's just like shit that I don't want to see. Of course, we don't even have a TV. I was going to say things I don't want to see on TV. I just don't watch, like I don't go and watch these channels that I know that, or I'm not going to want to see whatever it is, whether it's like, me, I don't like watching movies, right?
Yeah.
Like I can't watch movies for whatever
We
reason.
don't Netflix and chill, you guys.
Nah.
We just chill.
To me, like when a movie starts, all I can think about is like, I got 2 hours until this bitch is over and then I'm gone, like.
Yeah, he hates sitting for a movie.
But or news or whatever it is, or it's just like, I'm not going to watch that shit. Like, yeah, as a matter of fact, I quit watching the news years ago, because the reality is the news is a business and they're all fighting for your attention. And the more inflammatory they can make things seem, the more likely somebody is going to stay tuned into them.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I really appreciate X for that reason. Back before Elon kind of purchased X and turned it into what it is, I used to go every day because I do like staying informed on what's going on not only in our country, but across the world. I like knowing what's going on. And I can remember going to like Google and Googling like news today just to find what would pull up for news for the day. And I remember like always coming across articles that just like did not like the article headline like said something and I was thinking, oh my gosh, this is crazy. I can't believe that that this is what they're claiming, this article is about. I got to read this. And then you go read the article and it's fucking nothing to do with what the title said of the article. So they're really or when you see all the silly stuff about the Tesla recalls.
Oh yeah.
Can we talk about that for a second?
Yeah.
Like those, people, I think it's very unfortunate because I am a big believer in Elon and what he has done for humanity. I really think that even the people that cry against the shit that we talk about or anybody else, I think they have a right to be on a platform that allows everyone to speak. Even if you don't agree, you're allowed to speak your non-agreeance. So it's kind of sad to see like the media attack him so much, especially with the Tesla recalls. Your fucking Tesla is like your phone. Like the update is literally over the air. I had so many family members that were like, did you read about that Tesla recall? And I'm like, you guys, it's a fucking update.
Yeah.
That takes maybe an hour. That's it.
Yeah. 50 minutes or so.
That's all. Yeah. This was not like I got to take the car back to the fucking place and do all like, then they made it seem, the media made it seem like hundreds of thousands of these Teslas needed to be recalled. Absolutely insane. And I saw May, post a few days ago about like, I guess our phones got a new update, the iPhones. Right. And she's like, oh, where's the media? Like they're not sitting here claiming that, the iPhones had a recall because it's a fucking update.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't, Elon, of course, he's by allowing people to have their own expression and true speech and not restricting, the other side of whatever the other side is. It's and that's the thing. Like, I absolutely loathe the notion where people think, that there's only two sides, right? Oh, well, it's this side or that side, right? Like politicians want you to believe that shit, right? Mm-hmm. Like I only know American politics, but in American politics, it's like you're either right or left. You're either Democrat to Republican. It's like, who the fuck are you? Yeah. You fucking clowns come up with these fucking ideas, and y'all want to push, the Republicans on one side and the Democrats on the other, and they want to divide a country of over 300 million people into these two subgroups. Mm-hmm. It's fucking nuts. Yeah. Like we all have our own views politically, right? And even the people that I see myself, seeing eye to eye on most political issues, like there has never been anyone ever that I have 100% agreed, with about everything as far as political or whatever it is. Yeah. Because like we all have our own life experiences. We all have our own beliefs. We all have our own convictions. We all have seen things that, have been fucked up in a sense, and it shapes our worldview. And so So the idea that we can just be compartmentalized into just, you're either on the left or you're on the right. And if you're on the left, you have to be fucking, pro-abortion, fucking, hate guns. And on the right, you have to be quote unquote pro-life and love guns. And it's like,
right.
Like people like just have your own fucking views. But that's the problem, right? That's why they hate a third party candidate. That's why, at least, in modern history, there's never been a third party candidate fucking do anything. The most significance a third party candidate has had, at least in my lifetime, was Ross Perot in the 1992 election, when his mere presence offset the Republican votes, if you will. Mm-hmm. And as the political pundits theorize, that the votes for Ross Perot took away a large percentage of votes, mostly that would have gone towards George H.W. Bush, the dad, former fucking CIA spy. Or he would have been president. And so in the 1992 election, it was Bill Clinton, right? So just the third party candidate being in that election swung the election towards, one side. But my view on it is, fuck the parties. We have ideas. Mm-hmm. This country is founded on ideas, not a fucking party.
Yeah.
Well,
and I think that the sides, I don't know. I feel like, I made a political post, if you will, for the first time probably ever for Panty Nectar the other day. And the feedback from it was very interesting. But one person specifically, and my point to the story is that both these sides are so mixed up into so much shit that they aren't even Democrat and Republican. They're fucking whatever fits their agenda at the time and whatever fits their agenda at the time.
100%.
And we had someone comment on, my post on X saying something. They didn't like what I had to say. They were completely in disagreement with me. And so I always want to check out those people's profiles. I always want to go just go see what they're talking about, what they're posting about. You guys know me. I don't entertain negativity. So I just like having conversations. So I went to this person's profile, and in their bio, it said Constitution first. Had this whole American, this and that, Constitution first. So I thought, okay, interesting. So then I scrolled down through their tweets a little bit, through their post. It's not tweets. And they had retweeted this post talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene, which think what you will. I think what I think about Congress and all that. But he shared it and said, Marge Taylor Traitor Queen needs some DOJ discipline. And I thought, isn't that interesting? The people that sit here and want to disagree with what I had to say and that claim that they're for the Constitution are the same people that saying our DOJ needs to go weaponize themselves and attack these people that I don't fucking agree with either. I think Congress is a little silly when they start doing all their shit. It's kind of,
they're a bunch of fucking clowns.
It's a little bit embarrassing.
They are.
We need to play the clip of the freaking big butch body built blonde whatever they were, but I couldn't believe that they were talking to each other like that during a congressional meeting. I'm like,
but make no mistake, all this is designed to make people. It's the divide and conquer strategies, right? It hit me probably about 10 years ago. I remember thinking, I was like, holy shit. The left can't exist without the right, and the right can't exist without the left, substitute Republican or Democrat. And the reason is because if you look at like once again, just in my lifetime, really not much shit has changed over the years.
Right.
No matter what happens, and when something goes wrong, you see the other side that's not in power say, elect us, we'll go in and make the changes that you want. And so, the pendulum swings to the left or to the right a little bit. You get a new party that comes in power. And really, it's, as we're all fucking noticing, it's the Uniparty. They're one and the same, right?
Right.
What's the difference in fucking Mitch McConnell and Chuck Schumer? They're both leaders of their respective parties in the Senate, and they both pretty much walk lockstep in whatever it is they're doing.
Yeah.
And it makes, after the 2020 election, I remember thinking and hearing, months after that, and people were like, I'm like, damn, okay, what's the 2024 election going to be like? And everyone just started shaping up. It's going to be Trump versus Biden. I'm like, wait. Why? Why do you guys want to put Trump back in office if, and people strongly believe that he is the only person that can save this country.
Right.
Now, I believe that the weaponization of justice that is being done toward him is wrong entirely, but I don't believe at all that he's the only person that can. As a matter of fact, I think there's a lot of people better suited to be president than him. But what this is doing, this is by design, and the left is doing it on purpose too, and the right knows it. But the weaponization toward Trump solidifies the base, the conservative base, if you will. So it makes people like me, like, oh, well, what they're doing is wrong towards him. And when someone on the other side sees that, they say, oh, you're just a fucking MAGA Trumper. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, as a matter of fact, I have my own issues with President Trump.
Right.
Things that people don't want to talk about. Things, people on the right, they don't want to talk about the trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars in debt that Donald Trump ran up when he was president. Before that, the 8 years before Trump, all I heard from the fucking Republicans was how Obama's going to bankrupt the nation because he's running up the debt.
Yeah.
Which he ran up the debt a lot, but fucking so did Trump.
Yeah.
But not a fucking peep. Not a peep about it.
It's all very, I've learned now paying attention to politics over the last couple of years, especially, that it's all kind of just like a deceptive, like kind of story game. Like they just want to kind of keep you like, oh, 100%. What's the tea today? Da, 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 da. Like, I thought it was really unfortunate when I saw, I don't know how many of you listening know that this event happened, but there was a, Rep Jamal Bowman actually a few months back pulled the fire alarm before a congressional hearing that was actually, they were taking a vote. Right. It was important stuff to do that day. And he walks over to the door, pulls the fire alarm, and everyone has to exit the building. And I thought when I saw that happened, my immediate thought was like, oh my gosh, like if I were to do that, or not even just me, if anyone were to do that, pull a fire alarm, how much shit at school did those kids get that like just prankingly pulled the fire alarm? That shit wasn't cool. It's not cool to yell fire when there's no fire. And that shit was brushed up under the rug, like no big deal, like, oh, he didn't mean to. And then after, he gets no real disciplinary action for that. Then they post the video footage because he claimed he didn't know. Right. Oh, I didn't know.
He said he was like trying to open the door or some shit.
So the video literally shows him, liar. He literally shows him going up to the door, removing the signs that say you can exit through this door. He removes the signs from the door. He turns to the left, walks over to the fire alarm, and pulls it. Yep. I can't,
Yeah.
It makes it really.
But nobody's above the law.
That's what I was about to say.
Nobody's
That's what I was
above the law except
like
that guy and this guy.
It's so crazy to me that like we are not holding ourselves more accountable to the things that make us a strong nation. I'm not even, like you're saying, I'm not even about the fucking Trump train. I'm not about the fucking, I don't give it. I honestly don't believe we fucking need a president. I don't think we need a federal government at all on our backs at all. But the fact of the matter is these are the two people that we have, and it is a loony show. I see Gatlin right here says, my question is, why do we allow such old people in the government? What's your thoughts about age restrictions? We need change. I would love to see a 30-year-old in the White House.
There's congressional or there's constitutional restrictions as far as the age that the president can. You have to be 36 or 30, whatever, 8 or whatever it is. The Constitution lays it out, so you have to be at least that age. What Gatlin is saying here is like, talking about like, okay, a major complaint you hear from many people, not just on the right but on the left, is like the physical health of Joe Biden. The guy looks like a fucking corpse up there. He can barely walk.
He ain't here.
He don't know what's going on. He's and then so that's that argument. And then the people who take issue with that, they're trying to replace him with a guy who's like the same fucking age.
Yeah.
So it's like
I saw someone the other day was like, Joe Biden is so kind-hearted, though. And he just, I'm like, can
So's
we?
my fucking grandma, but she's a fucking Looney Tune.
Can we just
That
admit
don't
that
mean
he's not
shit.
here, the poor guy? And I don't even like, you know, Biden is in charge right now. But I think the dude ain't here. I think that he has not been here for a little while. I think it's a shame that people stand up beside him, and watching medals be put on people and all kinds of things really makes me cringe. It's kind of sad.
Cute as a button says, "Good morning."
Good morning. Good
Fellow
morning.
And then the next one: why does America only have two political choices?
It's by design.
And it's by design, absolutely. Because I was going to mention they don't want we've been talking about and also who was it said Katia said they are all crooks. Both parties, terribly corrupt, and everyone knows it. it's like, that's the way I feel.
Mm-hmm.
Like, fucking politicians inherently are fucking bad.
Yeah.
Like, there's very, very, very few people that I believe that actually have like the American people's interests at heart, followed up by we're going to follow what we interpret the Constitution to be.
Right.
Everybody wants to talk about I hear Nancy Pelosi talk about the Constitution. I'm like, yeah, I have a hard time thinking that like you're one of upstanding integrity is your $180,000 a year salary all of a sudden fucking balloons up into $200 million net worth because of her great trading skills, I guess. But my thing is they don't want us talking to each other, right? Mm-hmm. Like, there's people listening to us right now that are like, oh yeah, like, I'm glad I'm tuning in because I agree with them, on whatever the topic is politically that we're talking about. But then there's people that are listening right now that are like, I'm about to turn this shit off because this doesn't, fuck them. I can't believe that they would say something bad about Biden or whatever. And it's like, look, settle down. The reality is when both sides can understand, like Katia said here, that none of them have your fucking interest in mind. Mm-hmm. The fucking Democrats, they want you to be perpetual victims, and the fucking Republicans, they just want to start wars, which now the Democrats are doing a great job at that as well. Yeah. But they just want to start wars all over the world because it fucking feeds their coffers. It feeds the businesses that lobby to keep them in power, right?
Right.
Just look at Nikki Haley.
That's literally who I was thinking of. I'm like,
Nikki Haley. I remember, I believe it was in 2010 or 2012, whenever it was. It was right after like the Tea Party movement, right? And like she comes in as the governor of South Carolina, and she's like the conservative darling. Everybody's yay Nikki, look at her. And now look at her. She's a fucking Nikki Haley needs to be fucking investigated.
She's on the board of Boeing, correct?
Yeah. And is raking in fucking millions and millions and millions of dollars from her short stint in politics. You know, and it's like, well, wait a second. Politics, you're a public servant.
Right.
There should not be reaping a fucking lifetime's rewards, especially off the private sector. Mm-hmm. I think that the biggest mistake that our founders made was not implementing term limits. Mm-hmm. Because if they would have implemented term limits, then it would have de-incentivized the people to continuously try to just get reelected.
Right.
And because think about it. If you're a House member, you're a member of Congress, you are, of the House of Representatives, you come up for reelection every 2 years. Mm-hmm. So we have 435 representatives that every 2 years, they have to get reelected to stay in power, to stay in their little fucking position.
Right.
So when they get reelected, they have a campaign that they basically have to just kick off again because in 2 years, so they're always in fucking campaign mode, as opposed to taking care of the fucking people.
Yeah.
And it's like, and it's as we sit here and send fucking billions and billions and billions of dollars to countries that fucking hate us, and we start wars that we have absolutely no business being involved in. And I've been a part of one of those. And here in our own country, we have our own issues with fucking homelessness and poverty and fucking terrible roads in some cities and states. And it's like, we're not even taking care of our own shit, but we're sending it off. And maybe it just goes to show how good we have it here.
Right.
You know, and I think
100%.
But we have to take care of our own people. And the thing is that I started this by saying, you know, the inflammatory thing of both sides, but we have to be able to talk to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw somebody, you know, after you made that post, somebody went through and they made a rude comment, you know, talking about your support of fucking Trump or whatever. And then you go to their profile and they blocked you. And it's like, well, like you're not it. First of all, you never even fucking interact with that person.
Yeah.
And they're going to make a rude comment and then block you, as opposed to let's have a conversation about it.
Yeah. People, someone on Reddit, like a day after that post, they had commented and they were like, wow, this is so hot. But FYI, you guys, she's a fucking Trumper. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's what people took from that. Which I stand strong in what I believe, and I don't feel the need to put others down or,
label.
Yeah, or scream about my fucking, my beliefs. But one thing that really opened my eyes, especially, I was not as involved with politics at all, but it became something that I thought was important during COVID. During the start of COVID, I was living down on the coast. I was personal training and running a gym and doing all these things. So, of course, the gyms get shut down. Well, the gyms got shut down, and the next thing you know, I was very active around that time. So, meeting my sprint group to run sprints, going to beach volleyball, doing all these things. And I can remember one of the first things they did was not only did they close my job down, but they closed the parks down. And I remember thinking the parks, that doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Makes no sense at all. And then the next thing to close was the boat ramps. They would not allow people to put their boats in the water.
Right.
Because of some scarcity mindset that people were going to party out on the water and get infected. But one thing that was crazy was they left McDonald's open. They left the liquor stores open. They left all the fast food stores open. And I think right there for me was the final okay moment when our society is so detached from what true health is, from what being healthy is, from what eating healthy is, from being active. They're so detached from what that means that people didn't even blink when they started closing things down like this. But the McDonald's drive-thru is still open, and the liquor store will allow one person in at a time. So as long as you guys line up at the fucking door, you can come in. I could not believe in the name of health that we were making these decisions.
And what else did they do? They also, at least here in the state of Texas, they also, I believe Governor Abbott may have done this just through some executive order, which I think executive orders should be fucking outlawed, right? I don't think the purpose of our government is to have checks and balances. And when you're issuing executive orders that it makes you king, right? Yeah. But I digress. Abbott changed the fucking laws to allow drinking and driving.
Yeah.
During that time.
And
it's well, wait a second. Something that we know, we can look at the statistics and see how many people die as a result of fucking drunk drivers. Tens of thousands in this country each year. And yet we're going to say, this is so bad. You can't go fishing. You can't go to the gym. But by God, you can go fucking pick up your booze from the fucking the restaurant, which they used to not be able to let you serve alcohol and have people take it and leave, and go home. At least here in Texas, you have to stay. But they changed the law, so I remember pulling up to fucking Los Camales there in Rockport, and ordered margaritas.
And as long as you got that tape on the lid in the car,
it's a fucking
then you're
joke.
good to go. You can leave and drive home with that.
Because the reason they did that, of course, is they know that people would have come fucking unglued if you would have kept their booze away from them.
Or their addiction to
their
fast
fucking
food.
McDonald's or whatever it is, right? But close the boat ramps.
I remember,
fuck you guys.
I remember in Fort Lauderdale, we moved to Fort Lauderdale.
And sorry if I may interrupt. It was the fucking right the Republicans that did that shit, at least here in Texas. So, you know, the authoritarian nature, like when I was growing up, like the conventional wisdom in politics were like, oh, the Democrats just want to control your lives and the Republicans want to set you free as far as like freedom. And it's like, no, they just want to control us in their own fucking way. Mm-hmm. Fuck them too, you know?
I remember being in Fort Lauderdale and I had gone down to like check the mail in our condo or something. And as I was going back up this like maybe middle-aged couple, they weren't, I wouldn't say old, but they were middle-aged couple and they had a cute little doodle dog with them. And I remember waiting for the elevator with them and they got on the elevator and then they both looked at me and the lady put her hand up to stop me from getting in the elevator. And she said, "Can you please wait and take the next one?" Because they had their masks on from walking their dog outside and wanted me, who was not wearing a mask, to wait outside the elevator. That moment right there was such like an eye-opening, like, wow, they have effectively literally divided people. But, well, I remember Biden. Let's not forget Biden getting on during the winter saying the Americans are going to face a cold winter of death. Some
it's
fucking
pandemic of the unvaccinated.
Some Game of Thrones shit saying that the unvaccinated was going to kill. I saw even Fauci yesterday said that the unvaccinated, if you're unvaccinated, you can account for over 200 to 300 extra deaths that you caused. He said that during his Congress hearing yesterday. I think that we can't even start having this conversation about COVID and about, you know, the next one that happens, the next big, you know, event that happens like this, if we don't understand true health. If you do not understand true health, then you cannot have this conversation, because if you fucking eat frosted Wheaties for breakfast and you eat bullshit all day long, then you cannot sit here and tell me that what the government is doing is correct, because you don't even understand.
And you're 100% correct in this context of the COVID thing.
Right.
But the next time it could be a different, understand that this was it was a totalitarian overreach by government, right? Like the whole idea of, oh, you can only, first of all, social distancing was just fucking bullshit. And then the second thing of, oh, you can get together, but you can't have any more than 10 people in your group of where, like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here. So the next time it may not just be, you know, something health related, as far as being like, I don't need a vaccine, I'm fucking healthy, and this thing that you're pushing around is bullshit to begin with. Where'd it come from?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I figured out right away. I went back and looked at the fucking NIH paperwork from 2014. As a matter of fact, I saved it on my computer because I thought that this shit would fucking disappear one day, and it may have. But talking about the origin of this shit.
Right.
And it's a fucking U.S. government disease.
Yeah.
Any way you cut it. So, but I digress. So the next thing could be a fucking, they're gonna take over some other aspect of your life, right? Whether it be banking or the fucking cars you drive or where you can, whatever the case may be. And the whole COVID thing, whether it was an actual test run or not, make no mistake, the fucking evil people right now have studied that shit and know how far they can take things, right? They pushed it a little too far with COVID.
Yeah.
They did. It made a lot of people, you know, awaken in a sense of like, well, wait a second, this is fucking bullshit. You know, we're seeing with our eyes, not what you guys are telling us. Mm-hmm. And so it made a lot of people more weary, and they won't want to make that mistake again, but they will make it more subtle in a sense. And it's like, you know, you talk about the people on the elevator. The first experience I had as some fucking degenerate was when I walked in to a gas station, and of course I'm not wearing my mask. I didn't wear a fucking mask, and I walk in, and there's a group of employees in like the candy aisle, and there's like 3 of them there, and 2 of them they're all kneeling down doing whatever, and I just glance over. And there's this one lady standing up, and she sees me walk in. She goes, sir. And I look at her and just keep walking. And she comes to the next house. She goes, sir, you need to have your mask on. And I literally look at this bitch because I'm like, you're not wearing a fucking mask. She didn't even have a fucking mask on. And this dumb bitch is telling me to put a fucking mask on.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck your fucking mask. People don't understand. People don't understand that this shit right here, it was a fucking pure submissive thing. Mm-hmm. It's so you fucking comply with them.
Yeah.
And the government is in control. And not just that, some fucking little dipshit at a fucking gas station or whatever fucking building you walk into is going to sit there and tell you that you need to have a fucking Why? There's no law that says it.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no fucking law that says it.
And I can remember people, at the very beginning, they did a very good job of effectively pushing fear into people. Because I remember, specifically someone that I know was like, oh, well, come on, like, the old people, like, they were like, the old people, you have to save these old people. They don't have the immunity to be going around. And I said, that's great. But first off, I love and care for everyone. That shows in all my stuff. But it is not my job to further decline my health to save someone else. So a mask was definitely not something that was going to happen. But then, like, I say they effectively pushed fear into people, because look at how many people, you can call us conspiracy theorists, you can call us whatever you want, but I know way too many people that have died over the last 2-3 years. One of them being one of our good friends that lost his life. And he was in his 30s. Had a kid on the way, and is dead now.
Cardiac arrest, by the way, not just cardiac arrest. And it was so much of the, I have a family member who's a physician, and I remember there were a few things right away that like the red flag went up almost immediately, about 2 weeks after the shit started in 2020. But when this guy told me that they had been instructed, this guy had been a physician for like 30 something, almost 40 years. Mm-hmm. And whatever it was, the way that they classify deaths, when somebody dies, and because they sign the death certificate and about the cause of death and all this kinds of shit, that they had been instructed to not be what the causation of death is for somebody. It was that if somebody dies with COVID, then that death is a COVID-related death.
Car accident, but they were sick with COVID. They died of COVID.
Right. And then we can get into the fact, well, then who's sick with COVID? Because I knew people that are like, oh, I got COVID. Oh, really? How do you know that? Well, I took 6 tests and they were all negative, but that 7th test, it was positive. Okay. Yeah. I'm not sure I'm following your fucking logic there. And then if we want to get into like the censoring thing, about it, talking about the tests in particular, about the people who fucking created and designed this kinds of shit, Robert Malone, this guy was fucking ostracized from academia and medicine.
He was kicked off of LinkedIn, his information.
Everything.
There's a really good episode with him and Joe Rogan.
And this guy is like the fucking resident expert on all this shit. And it was, and not just that I believe that what he's saying was right, or, because I mean, you listen to the guy talk, he's just telling you fucking facts about how all this shit led up. And, but the reality is even if he was wrong, he has the right to fucking say whatever he wants to in this country.
Yeah.
But you had the big, the censorship fucking complex, which is, mostly controlled by the left. Mm-hmm. And you could just go into the Twitter files and look at how the government.
These are facts.
The FBI was going in and censoring private citizens about their views and
facts.
And so I just hope that JS here says, I like this guy's tune. I never wore a mask. Good for you, dude. And fucking stand up for that shit. I think, what really pisses me off? What really fucking pisses me off are the people who knew that was bullshit, the whole fucking COVID thing, but they went along with it and got like fake vaccine cards. Mm-hmm. Like I knew people that fucking, this is bullshit, but I got to go travel and so I don't want it, but I got somebody to give me this card here and it looks like I got it. And it's like, you're part of the fucking problem.
Yeah.
Stand the fuck up, dude. Stand the fuck up for what's right.
Yeah.
Because if not, Like JS says here right now, our country is fucked right now.
Yeah.
We're being run by a bunch of fucking loonies. And I'm not just I'm talking about both sides, both parties. Back to what somebody said here earlier. All politicians are fucking crooked. And we have to be able to talk to each other, talk to our fellow Americans. Literally, fuck the politics, fuck the politicians, fuck that, I may be a Biden supporter and you fucking support, Kennedy or whoever it is. Like we have to be able to talk to each other and understand that our differences of opinions truly bring us into a more solid state. Because when you have differences of opinions, you have to talk about this you have to talk about those things, right. And you have to come to an agreement of whatever it may be and work out your issues.
Right.
When you live in a fucking totalitarian regime, i.e. North Korea, there are no differences of issues. It's only what fucking Kim Jong-un thinks is right.
Right.
And everyone else is dead. Because if you don't fucking comply with him, he'll kill you. He'll kill your fucking family. He'll kill a generation above you, and he'll kill a generation below you, or imprison you to a lifetime of fucking hard labor. Yeah. That's the way that shit operates.
I think it's really fortunate. Kataya says, government is not the solution to our problem. Government is a problem.
100%.
Quote from President Reagan.
Yeah.
I think that we are very divided as a country. If we weren't divided 4 years ago, we're divided even more now. And I think that if people would wake up and realize that division is what the goal is. Sorry.
Sorry, babe.
That division is what the goal is. And I just think like if more people, I remember having conversations with people I didn't even know online that would just find my post where I was just sharing facts about what was going on with COVID. And I remember some old lady was like, tried to tell me that I was being crazy and this and that. And I just told her like, look, this is like Holocaust times and you're not standing up for these. She was pro-vax, pro-COVID.
Pro whatever the government is demanding of you at that fucking time.
Pro everything. And I kept telling her, I said, what is that quote from the Holocaust? When they came for them, I didn't say anything because it wasn't me. And when they came for them, I didn't say anything because it wasn't me. And then when they came for me, there was nobody left to have my back. That's what this is. We have to stick together. We have to find a way to make, I believe that the United States is a strong nation. I believe that we once stood for something that was really important and really powerful. And I don't feel that way now. I don't feel like...
Oh, not at all.
I hope that we get back there. But I just feel like they've done such a good job with the Trump derangement and with all, you're vaxxed or unvaxxed and this and that. Like they've done such a good job with dividing everyone that we don't realize we all want the same thing. We want to live a happy, healthy life for a long time, a prosperous life. And I don't think that's possible with the federal government we have in charge currently anyways.
No. And a few years ago, I started thinking, as I mentioned on the podcast, I was in the Marine Corps, right? And like I joined in 2005, and I remember like the fucking pride that I had, like the pride that even before, when I was going through the process, and just even the thought of going to join the Marine Corps back then was like I am really serving my country.
Right.
I felt that way. I felt that like I was truly fucking doing something for the betterment of the country, for our society, for my family, for my future kids. And, went off and did what we did. And then you come back, and now I've been out of the Marine Corps now for about 14, 15 years. And a few years ago, I started thinking like, man, like this shit is not like the bill of goods that we were sold is not what we received. And it started making me think about like when was the last time the United States fought a war that actually fucking like meant, like where freedom was actually implicated, and I think my personal opinion is it's probably World War II. Because World War II was the last time that we were actually fucking attacked, right? Pearl Harbor, December 7th, 1941, the Japanese fucking attacked Pearl Harbor. And that was a direct attack on America by a foreign country, foreign military, of course. Now people will sit and listen and say, Mr. P, we were actually attacked on 9/11 and the fallout from that. Well, I definitely, a few years ago, I would have agreed with you But I think that if we take a pragmatic look at the events on 9/11, the facts that we know about it, and then the things that we don't know about it, the cover up behind it, release the fucking records, won't do it. And then we look at what happened over the next 20 years,
right?
And how it funded the military industrial complex, which once again, it pads all these people's pockets, right? Fucking George Bush. I remember being over in the Middle East and all over the place, whatever base we went on, the little white trucks that were driving around, and they had and I think the like red or maroon lettering, whatever it was, KBR, Kellogg Brown and Root. And they were one of the biggest fucking Republican donors. And it's like, And at the time, you're like, at the time, you're a part of it. You can't see the forest through the trees. But looking back, it's like, I think we probably, there's a lot of dead Americans, Marines, soldiers, sailors, fucking airmen that are dead now because of that bullshit that could still be alive.
Yeah.
But also, more importantly, we have gone in and we have completely fucking disrupted the equilibrium of the world by thinking we have the right to go in and force other people to live our way.
Right.
Insert Saddam Hussein here, insert fucking Muammar Gaddafi. I'm not defending what these people did, but the reality is like, let's look at if we want to talk about what's right and what's wrong, like, let's fix our own fucking government first before we start trying to go around and policing the fucking world.
Well, and I was, when I was listening, I really enjoy listening to the Joe Rogan podcast. I think that he spits a lot of facts. It's not really emotional, which you get a lot of emotions from everyone. I don't want that. I just want the facts.
Like me.
Yeah. So
sorry if I yell.
So the facts, specifically about Afghanistan and the Taliban, I was unaware of this until recently, but Afghanistan in that area is actually very much populated with poppy seeds. The poppy seeds is a huge economy for the locals there. And when we were in Afghanistan, of course, we were keeping the poppy seeds. I think maybe it was Joe Rogan was reading the article about how the Marines, that was their income. The locals' income was doing whatever and farming all those poppy fields. Yeah. And we did nothing about it when we were over there. And we, talked about how bad the Taliban is and how bad the Taliban, if they were to control that area, how it would just be chaos and fucking murder. And you look now, if you look currently at Afghanistan, the heroin and drug use is down 90%.
Yeah.
And that is because they want their fucking people working. They don't want their people fucked up on drugs. Whereas it's very convenient that when we were in there, we're not doing anything about these poppy seeds. And you notice we have a huge fucking drug problem. All across the world, there's a huge fucking drug problem. People are dying from fucking fentanyl all the time and all these crazy drugs. And we go in the name of needing to save people and needing to help people and needing to do all these things, when in fact, we probably don't do the best all the time. And I think that people need to, it's hard because it's not the people of the US, it's the government.
Yeah.
That's the hard part for me, is like, why do we fucking even have these people when we should know how to live a civilized life without the federal government telling you to pay your taxes, or an armed IRS guard's going to show up at your fucking door.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and like you talk about the poppy, when we were there, like, Afghanistan apparently, supposedly, we were told, was one of the world's largest, or the world's largest exporter of fucking opium. Mm-hmm. Because that was derived from the poppy, and then they, however, I've never fucking made heroin. I don't know how it's done, but they use that to, get the opium and then turn into heroin, whatever they do. But that was like the major complaint, right? Like, it was, oh my God, the Taliban is letting a terrorist organization run freely out of this country, which is Afghanistan, the Taliban being the controlling government. And the reality is it's just fucking tribes over there. And the way that they are funded is through their cash crop, which is poppy. Mm-hmm. And so it gave a good argument to well, we got to take that shit under control. If we can't control the cash crop, then it logically follows that we can't control the terrorist, right? So there was, I told you, when I was there was a fuck ton of poppy, and not just that, there was marijuana fields out there as well. I remember, I told you, I never walked through a fucking poppy field, and I never walked through a marijuana field in Afghanistan. But I remember seeing people that were out there. They'd bring back pictures and shit, or like the newspaper articles, and there was actually some Marines that got in trouble when I was in Afghanistan in 2008 with the 24th MU, I believe, and we were in Kandahar and launched an operation into Garmsur. And that was supposedly like in the Helmand province. And that was where the Taliban, it was like their command and control center. So, but apparently when we went there, I was in the air wing, right? So like I was just a mechanic and I'd fucking work on the aircraft, and then they'd launch the infantry guys and drop them off where they were. Some of those Marines got into a lot of trouble because there was drugs there in mass quantities, and they decided to take some for themselves. So, but back again to like the issue of like, well, maybe the problem's a fucking person, like we talk about like,
look at
like
how
the drug trade, Kiki Camarena, the guy in Mexico, the DEA agent who he was sent down into Mexico in the 1980s to stop the drug trade, to stop the drugs flowing into the United States.
Yeah.
And he was there for years. And come to find out, this dude apparently started realizing, wait a second, the people most involved in this drug trade is our actual fucking government. And he was uncovering that whole thing when they killed him down there.
Yeah. That was, if you have not watched that, I think we watched it on Prime Video. It's called The Last Narco. It's a very good documentary.
Kiki Camarena, Kiki Camarena.
His wife speaks in the documentary. The assassination agent that was hired by the government and then flipped by the government is also in that documentary. It's very good.
U.S. attorneys too. I mean, this is like they're interviewing people that have a lot of credibility that are supporting this theory that this dude was taken out by our own government because he was uncovering the facts about what was actually going on.
Yeah, he was. If you don't know, Kiki Camarena was killed. He was actually killed leaving a government embassy. Like he was it in Mexico or something? It
was in Mexico, yeah.
And he was leaving the government embassy, and not fucking streets away, he was fucking taken and killed. Right. As his wife sitting at dinner waiting for him at this restaurant. Pretty terrible. But it just goes to show, JS just said here, 20 years, then we just leave. Totally fucked up, the sadness for the women and children.
Sorry, go ahead.
I just agree with you. I do feel bad for the women and children, but I also feel bad. If there's one thing that irks me the most, it's when we lose soldiers or when we lose citizens. I think it's the saddest thing that can happen. And it was really heartbreaking to hear what happened to those 13 soldiers, and then to hear how they were treated by our own government after the fact, and how our government refused to fly their bodies home to their families, and which has never been done before. It's never been done before ever. And our government said, nah, you guys can worry about paying to fly the bodies home. We're not going to fly them to your hometown where where they should be resting. So I think it's really unfortunate. And I think things like that, we should have never been there to begin with.
Yeah, and he says, 20 years and we just leave like that. And JS, when I was there in 2008, I read the book Charlie Wilson's War, and it's a big, they made a movie out of it, but the book's big. It's like 500, 600 pages long, and I'm not a big reader myself, but I read through this book so fast because it was so fascinating to me because I was there, right? So I could it kind of had a lot of relevance at the time. But what I learned in that book was about when the Soviets went in 1979 or 1980, whatever year it was. And, they go in and they go as a part of, the Soviets as a part of their expansion. They're going to go in and they're going to take over Afghanistan. And they thought, we're one of the world's, biggest, strongest militaries. And it's just these people living in these caves, and we're going to waltz in and fucking take them out, and we're going to take control of this country.
Well, they learned quickly that the fucking people there, like, they don't want anybody else controlling them.
Mm-hmm.
They have their little tribes and their cultures, and that's how they've lived forever, and they're happy that way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they deal with things their own unique way. And so the Soviets were there for 8 or 9 years or whatever it was. And the first few years, they dealt a big, heavy blow to the people of Afghanistan. And so then there was the group that, they called them the Mujahideen, the freedom fighters in Afghanistan. And so these people in the 80s were the people that the CIA were sponsoring because the United States saw Afghanistan as a proxy.
Mm-hmm.
So it became a proxy war. The United States wasn't going to directly get involved and launch troops and aircraft and tanks in Afghanistan to fight the Soviets. But they thought that, okay, if we could just fund the Mujahideen with some money and some weapons, then they can fight the Soviets on our behalf and kick them out. So that's what they did. So it started out with just a little bit of funding that flowed in. And then over the years, I remember it was like $250 million a year, which is back then a shit ton of money. Still a shit ton of money, right? But this is what was going to the Mujahideen. And that was at the time that the Stinger missiles, the shoulder fire, ground to air anti-aircraft missiles came out. And they were one of the first battlefield use cases was actually by the Mujahideen shooting down the Russian Hinds, their helicopters, which were fucking destroying people. The Hind is a badass helicopter. And so these Hinds, they would just roll in over the villages in Afghanistan and fucking strafe them and kill anything in sight, right? And that was the one thing that the Mujahideen were telling the Americans, specifically Charlie Wilson and his crew and Gus Avocados, who was a CIA agent. They were saying, if we could shoot down those aircraft, we can do it.
Yeah.
And so that's when they gave them the Stinger missiles. They shot down the first Hind and then the second Hind. And then then that changed the war. Okay. As we're sending hundreds of millions of dollars over here to help these people, we, the United States, are saying, don't worry, we're going to take care. We're going to build the hospitals. We're going to take care of your people because our interest was in defeating the Soviets. When the Soviets left in 88 or whatever year it was, so did the fucking Americans because that was our interest was fucking, it was the mission had been completed at that point. So when the Soviets left, as did the Americans, and then the fucking Mujahideen and the people of Afghanistan were left to pick up the ruins of everything. And that was, so that's when who comes in to save the day? To say, oh, these Americans won't fucking rebuild your roads and bridges that they had a part in destroying because we were funding the fucking operation on this side. And so bin Laden comes in as a Saudi in exile and says, and he's very wealthy, his family's wealthy, and he says, oh, I'll fund this and I'll fund this. So in the 90s, the Mujahideen, which were the freedom fighters, in the 80s, they were allied with us. 20 years later, when we send the Americans over there in 2001 and then again in 2003 and then on, guess who we're fighting? The Mujahideen. And so we literally took a good people and turned them into our fucking enemies.
Right.
So, to JS's point here is 20 years, then we just leave totally fucked up the sadness for the women and children. Like if we could have learned anything from the 80s, it would have been that.
Yeah.
That we don't just fucking leave like that.
Yeah.
But the reality is that the only interests that are being served when these operations are going on, like these fucking endless foreign wars, are the interests of the people like fucking Nikki Haley and George Bush and Dick Cheney and whoever else is fucking deeply involved in the military industrial Lindsey Graham, all these people that profit off of the warmongering. Well, it's like, the people here in this country, we don't want to fight fucking anyone. You know what I mean? Like, and I understand, like, look, throughout history, there has always been wars. And we have to have a strong military. I understand that. But it needs to be in the military of the defense of this country, not just going out there and fucking pushing our morality supposedly onto the world.
Yeah. I especially think it was really sad. JS, you may know this, but when Biden gave his State of the Union speech a few weeks back or whenever that was, one of those fathers of the fallen soldiers had stood up and shouted something about like, what about the 13? Or I think he just yelled 13, right? Is what he yelled.
Well, they were Marines. They weren't soldiers. He yelled 13 dead Marines.
Right. And he was arrested. He was pulled out of the State of the Union speech, and he was thrown in jail and arrested.
Yeah.
For speaking about his, I don't remember which father it was. So his his son or daughter that died. But it's really unfortunate to see the people of the United States being treated like this. It's been pretty crazy to see over the last 4 years how we get treated. We, the people of the United States who pay taxes, who do what we're supposed to do, who check the box, so we don't go in the golden handcuffs. But it's a really sad state of affairs, and I really hope that more conversations like this can bring people, can pull people into the conversation as well. That maybe like I see Bill Maher or whatever the fuck Bill. How do you say his last name? Maher. I saw him the other day saying that Capitol Police died because of January 6ers. And the lady he was interviewing was like, who? Because that's a false statement, but that's the narrative that's being pushed. And I don't know. I just think more conversations need to be had. I think more people need to listen to independent journalists instead of the mainstream media. I think if you haven't realized now, their only goal is to incite fear and emotion and clicks. That's all they want.
Yeah, there's this account, you talk about independent journalists, and I thought to myself, who's independent?
Right.
Everyone kind of picks their side. But there's accounts like on X, there's an account, Quantitative Trading or something like that, that they just categorize the members of Congress, their trading portfolios and the trades, the stock trades that they make and how much money they've made off of those trades.
Yeah.
And it's shocking to see, once again, fucking politicians, they're all corrupt. Mm-hmm. It doesn't, you see, all the people making the most money, it's fucking Democrat, Republican, Democrat, Republican, Democrat, Republican. And you think to yourself, well, wait a second. I thought this side, I thought the Democrats were supposed to be for this. And I thought the Republicans were supposed to. It's no, you people don't understand. We are the ones being fucking duped, man.
Right.
And until we tell all of our politicians to get fucked, I'm telling all of them that. All of them. Even the ones I think about the few members of Congress that I think, senators or Congress people that are like, oh, well, they do a pretty good job. I'm like, no, you got to go too. Because the reality is that fucking cancer, it is embedded in that place.
Yeah.
And once again, nothing will change there until term limits are implemented. And that will never happen because they have to do it themselves.
Right.
Congress would have to say, oh, well, yeah, I think we should implement term limits on ourselves, right? Just like with Obamacare, they push Obamacare onto the American people and then write an exemption for themselves.
Right.
And it's well, wait a second. If Obamacare is so fucking good, why don't y'all have to follow this law too? It's like that guy Andrew Wilkow says. He says, socialism is not for the socialists, it's for the people. The socialists still live in their fucking elite ivory towers and they do whatever they want to.
Right.
They don't follow the fucking law, right? With this whole Trump bullshit, we hear people say, oh, well, no one's above the law. It's
I can name a few.
Really? Well, let me just pull the picture out with fucking Hunter Biden with a fucking crack pipe in his mouth. Is no one really above the law? Or is fucking lying on his gun? Is no one above the law? Or fucking Biden retaining classified information in his fucking Corvette. Is no one above the law?
Or Jamal Bowman, who pulls fire alarms for no reason,
or
apparently.
is it because someone has a difference in political opinion than they do?
Right.
And it is, I do strongly believe that this country is the most formidable country, that our framework is the most solid because we have so many different checks and balances type systems, and for the most part these have been honored throughout the time of our country, right? due process and shit like that, to where people have the right to a speedy trial by jury and not just be thrown into fucking prisons without being tried and, kind of being held like some people are. And
it goes from the highest level to the lowest level too. We know this. It's corruption all around at its core because the system is wrong.
It is, and that's why I am such a big proponent of, and why the government fucking hates crypto.
Right.
Because like we talk about, wouldn't it be awesome if our government was on the blockchain?
Right.
And like every dollar that was spent, you could just go and check the public ledger.
Yeah.
And you could say, oh, well, it looked like, we just sent another fucking $60 billion to Ukraine. Or, we just sent another fucking $2 billion to Israel. Or, we sent another fucking $2 billion to the other side of that war. So now we're funding both sides.
Yeah.
And then people could talk about it and say, this doesn't really make much sense. But as it is now, it's the fucking dark money that just flows. Most money is appropriated by Congress. But there's also money that the White House, the president, is in control of, that is secret money. It's fucking for clandestine purposes, because there are certain things within our governments, especially the executive branch, that are done in secret. And so how can you fund those if the money is appropriated and allocated in a public sense, right?
Right.
Now, my thing is it's all fucking public. Right, like someone talking about, they were talking about Trump and the JFK and the 9/11 records and shit like that, and saying, oh, well, he said he's going to release them. Well, my thing is fucking Trump said that the first time, so why are you going to believe him this time? Okay, but people are all up in arms saying, well, that shouldn't be, and it's like, that's fucking public. That's just information.
Yeah,
like the government should release all. There should be no secret. What should be secret? I think the only thing that should be secret maybe is like fucking plans of military operations.
It's funny. I see people on X that are like, oh, I saw this gruesome video, or, oh, I saw this, I saw that. I can't believe that popped up on my timeline. And I'm like, I kind of think that we're at the point in our society where like people need to see this shit so that everything's not pretty and rainbows and shit. Like we are not living the same life that we were X amount of years ago. We are not living this pretty land of the free, home of the brave shit anymore. Like, we're just not. We're living in a society where you have to follow the rules, and if you don't, you'll lose your job, you'll lose this, they'll take whatever away from you, they'll do whatever. And I think that people need to wake up a little bit too. Like, yeah, people are fucking dying. People are doing, these things are happening, and it's not pretty. And they think that the people of America can't handle it. But it's like, at what point what changes if nothing changes? Like, people have to wake up and see this stuff, see what's happening, see these terrible things. Like the freaking video of Ashley Babbitt. I watched that and I could not fucking believe that these things are happening and people have no clue about them at all. They have no clue. It blows my mind. We saw another content creator comment on my post the other day, and she said something along the lines of like, oh, well, I'm not smart enough to talk about politics. And I'm like, there was another girl that commented under her saying, oh, come on, like get real now. You're
smart enough. You just choose not to.
Exactly. Right. But my point is if you're not smart enough, you're really doing society injustice and us an injustice, because people do need to be paying attention to this stuff. Now, I'm not saying go crazy with it or become a lunatic, but you do need to be aware of what's going on and the policies being pushed and the things being voted on that are absolutely so far from what the people want. It's insane.
Yeah. As we're 34 trillion with a T.
Yeah.
Dollars in debt.
Yeah.
So like all this that we've been discussing is with that, it's with that reality, that fact of our debt lingering in the background.
It's crazy.
And like, if you understand how fucking massive that is, that debt will never be paid off.
Right.
I don't give a fuck what that debt, it literally will not be paid off. You could confiscate every dollar from fucking every American and you wouldn't get close to fucking touching that national debt.
Right.
So here we are stuck with that. And it's like, and people, and I used to think like, I remember like when the debt was like $8 trillion and thinking like, oh my God, like we're just going to keep going down this. And at some point, the levee's going to break and shit's just going to, but the reality is that our system is so robust that we can be $34 trillion in debt, print money out of thin air, driving inflation up, have a fucking half of the society that are the dependents and half of the society that are the producers. So the producers send money to the dependents, the fucking victims, right? And at some point that has to collapse. And here we are another 20, 25 years later, and we're rocking and rolling, and the fucking stock market is reaching all times, and everybody's happy their fucking portfolios are doing good. It's like, you know, so I believe fundamentals come in play at some point. Mm-hmm. I think, economics plays a huge part of everything. And at some point, something's going to happen. Now, but I also think that, like, the reality is that probably the world, I think what will happen, as opposed to like us paying back $34 trillion in debt, I think it's more likely the world kind of comes to a mutual agreement that we're going to press the reset button one time. You know, be like, okay, like, we don't owe any money to anybody and nobody owes money to us, and we're going to reset it and change our, the world come to an international law agreement or some shit to say that we're going to, everybody's debt is reset to zero, but we're going to learn this time and do it right in the future. Now, I don't think we'll ever do it right in the future, but you can't pay off $34 trillion. It's impossible.
Especially not when it's a private entity that is helping print all this money for you that then gets to make all these decisions. I don't think people realize that, like, the Federal Reserve has nothing to do with the federal government. It's a private entity. It has nothing. It is so far from anything to do with the government. And that's where we get our money. That's a pretty scary thought that some private entities have that much, what's the right word?
Power and fucking control and influence.
Influence, yes. That have that much influence over what happens in the world. And look at, I don't necessarily want to go into this, but, we just left Austin because it's insane there. You have a DA, a George Soros funded DA, who I cannot express enough to you guys. We lived in downtown Austin. I cannot express enough to you how much crime we watched from our windows.
Yep.
Our apartment looked out over Lady Bird Lake, and it got to the point where we literally stopped leaving the apartment because we could literally watch so much crime happening. I remember one of the big things that happened along with the bodies in the machetes attacks, but there was a guy that went from San Antonio, killed his parents, drove up to Austin, drove all through Austin, shooting people a few communities away from us. Literally, what was it, Circle K or something?
Circle C.
Circle C. Literally shot a mom in her front yard, shot the mover. They had a 1-year-old daughter, they were just moving into their home, and he shot and killed them. And they won't release any information about that man. Because we know Dash tried to get information. They will not release any information about that man. When you have a society that you can see is designed to cause chaos, that's cause for concern.
Yeah.
Real concern.
Yeah. You mentioned Dash. I think people should know who that is.
Yes,
so
let me pull up his thing.
There's an account on X, goes by Dash or documenting ATX. I think that's the actual handle, documenting ATX. But Dash, his name's Jamie.
Jamie.
And
let me see.
And he is it showing up there? But it's like no. But he was so he documents a lot of just what's going on in Austin and specifically with the boom in the homeless communities there, and he has a deeply rooted interest in homelessness because he himself was once homeless, and he pulled himself up out of it, and so he is truly out there trying to help these people, and doing a great job. putting all this stuff kind of out there of just, showing what's going on and just walking through these homeless camps and being like, look at this stuff, guys.
Yeah. And I think it started off like his mission started off as wanting to help homeless people. As he was going through this, he realized, oh my God, we not only have a homeless problem, we have a city council, a crime problem, a
government problem.
It's a government problem is what it is. And so he teamed up with Nomadic AI to create a map that will show you all the hot spots of where these huge homeless encampments are. And these homeless encampments are not just filled with homeless people. They are homeless, but they're filled with people that have means to do better and they choose not to because they get their drugs and they get their things from the government and they're completely happy. And one of those places specifically, we used to go over to this park across the street from us all the time, constantly. And one of the last times I was there, I realized I had to be very self-aware of what was going on around me, because if you realize what's going on around you, you start seeing these people walking through the playground, and I kept noticing it more and more and more. Well, then when I found Dash and found the Nomadic AI map, there is a freaking homeless encampment the size of the fucking forest right there that runs in the creek's bed right next to this children's park. I could not believe. And when you walk by, you can see it. You can see all their tents. You can see, and I'm not sitting here bashing homeless people. I'm bashing these people that want to come out and fucking harass people for food and money. How many people did we see go through the park that were just fucked up on drugs and not even coherent?
Yeah.
As there's children everywhere.
Yeah. And it's important to understand, like, a few years ago, and like when I was growing up, there was definitely homelessness, and it was a terrible, terrible thing to see. But at that point, it was like the people who were homeless, really fucking looked like they had nothing else. You know what I mean? Their life had been fucked for whatever reason, and it was terrible events. Many of them go through, rough childhood or adolescence or whatever happens, and they end, and it's sad and it's terrible.
Yeah.
But nowadays, these homeless people, many of them are fucking able-bodied folks just like you and me, walking around with fucking cell phones and shit, that are just choosing not to do anything. Yep. They're choosing to be lazy. They're choosing to be fucking worthless. And those people I have no sympathy for at all.
We watched a guy, we watched a guy ride in on his bike one day. All he had was looked like a sleeping bag with him, his bike. He camped. He built a camp under the tree bush we could see from our apartment balcony. Built an encampment down there, and it was just off from the road, so you really couldn't see it if you were down there. We had a great view of it, but people, it was totally obsolete. You could not see it.
And it ran right next to Cesar Chavez.
Right next to Cesar Chavez. And then we noticed slowly over time, this dude was not only more people were going to his encampment, crackhead looking fucking people, dragging shop vacs down the road and shit, but then this guy starts wearing Hollister shirts and Columbia shirts, and he's got nice pants. And then we notice him start going into there are guest parking garages for our apartment complex that have entrances out on the road. They are accessible to the main stuff, but not really if you're following the rules. You really can't get into, but there's a way. And this guy, we started noticing, would walk across the street and go straight into our guest parking garage, which had been broken into. I guess the bike storage was on that floor, so the bike storage had gotten broken into. So crazy to think about. And I remember filming it one day and letting my apartment complex know, hey, this guy, he is homeless. His encampment's right here. He's been going into our parking garage. I just want you guys to know. And then I thought to myself, oh my God, they're going to think I'm crazy because this dude, if they get on the cameras, is going to look like a regular dude.
Just looks like a normal dude.
He's got nice shoes,
dressed nice.
Shirt.
I think he even fucking tucked in his shirt,
had a cell phone. on.
He looked fresh, dude. And like in the evenings when he first got there, he kind of looked a little ragged. The clothes, but then he started within 2 weeks. This dude's like running this.
And
there was
hustling.
there was nothing there before he got there. And then 2 weeks, there's this bustling little camp, and he is the fucking ringleader of that thing. And I watched because he was not on drugs. He was not on drugs at all. He was
working.
aware.
He was hustling.
He's a hustler, right? But the people that he brought in to do whatever that he was doing, and those people were all fucked up.
Yeah.
And then you see, he started, there's a new bike here that he, and now he shows up with a new, fresher bike. And he's hiding things over in the bushes and, and all this kind of shit.
It's pretty crazy. Dash actually caught on. He goes live every day. And he actually had walked into a 7-Eleven or Stripes, whatever it was, 7-Eleven. And he was going to get a soda for the day. And he walked in on this cashier woman being harassed by this homeless guy that physically was grabbing her and like scratching her, like causing her harm.
It was a strong arm robbery is what it was. He was fucking robbing the place.
And so, of course, she calls 911. The dude gets out of there. But Dash, Jamie, he's like, I can't believe that I'm catching this. Like, I need to go. So he drives in the same parking lot pretty much, because it's all one big parking lot. These dudes, the guy that was just in there is sitting over by the fucking Popeyes. And so Jamie's sitting there with his live stream camera from his truck right on the guys, and he sees the cops pull up. So we're all watching on the live stream, a handful of us, and he's like, oh yeah, the cops are here. So we watch the cop pull right up. He doesn't even get out of his vehicle. He rolls the window down. You can see him conversing a little bit with the guys there, because there were 2 or 3 guys sitting down. And they converse a little bit. The cop drives off. So Jamie goes, no way, I can't. He literally could turn around and see the gas station that this just happened at. So it's not like this dude traveled pretty far and like they can't match shit up. Right. They're in the same parking lot still. So Jamie says, I can't believe that this dude just drove away. So I'm like, oh, fuck that. Like, we're all like, what the fuck? And so he goes back to the gas station to say, did the cops come talk to you? The cops, listen closely, the cops didn't even go to the gas station. They didn't even go speak to the victim. And I think they tried to pull some stuff online where they were saying, I think it just froze.
Oh, okay, sorry, go ahead.
Where they were, they just didn't even go see the gas station lady. They just talked to the guy, drove off.
He took the suspect's word for it.
Right.
So the great police work in Austin, the crime takes place, a strong arm robbery. They go and they interview the suspect from their police cruiser. They don't even get out, right? They just sit there, roll down the window, because we see it. The suspects in this case, they don't even stand the fuck up to, they just sit on their lazy asses until the cops, we couldn't hear, but the cops spends a few minutes or a few seconds conversing with them and drives off. Never goes to actually talk to the victim in this case. And it's not like that the victim wasn't known. The victim was a fucking attendant at a gas station.
They ended up calling a second time and was like, how dare you? You guys didn't even fucking send anyone. And they try to pull that stuff like, oh, our resources are limited. And it's like, we literally just watched on live stream your cop go talk to the suspect.
Yeah.
That's in the same parking lot.
Yeah. How limited are our resources then?
It's pretty crazy. So all in all, we live in a crazy world, and we definitely need to have more of these conversations. So let's start having more of these conversations. Let's start talking about facts. Let's start rolling with this shit, because the world needs to change if we are going to have a better future.
Yeah. And I know that, we sit here and complain about government and politicians, because rightfully so, fuck them. But we, the people, the great people of this country, the world, it doesn't matter what side you are or on, what side, your beliefs, we need to come together, have conversations, love and respect each other, and make the world a better place, and treat each other how you want to be treated, I think is a great way to.
Absolutely. All right, you guys, we will see you next time for episode 80. Oh, geez. 88.
88. It'll be a Patty Nectar.
88. See you guys next time.
See ya.